Namaste and welcome to the Love Your Curves podcast. I'm Dana Smith, author of Yes, Yoga Has Curves. And today I have the honor and pleasure of interviewing Khetnu. Hi, Khetnu.
Hey, Dana.
Thank you so much for joining me today and allowing me to get some insight on your yoga journey. And I know this is going to be a great conversation because the conversations thus far have been awesome and on time. So I'm looking forward to it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for having me and letting me be a part of your movement. I've been following it for a while now, so to be able to be a part is really, really cool for me.
Awesome, awesome. So let's begin with you telling us, how did your yoga journey begin? What inspired you to start practicing?
Stress.
Yeah.
Started my journey about 15 years ago. I was in massage school. I was the guardian for my two nephews who at the time were 2 and 3, I believe. And so I was going to massage school full time. I had them, and I was working two part-time jobs. So you might as well say I had a full-time job on
Oh,
top of all
wow.
that.
Yeah.
And just got to a point where my overwhelm was overwhelmed, and I was looking for an outlet. Even though getting massages every day in school should have been enough, it wasn't. And I decided to visit a local yoga studio that I had seen throughout the years because she had been there forever. And it's a tiny little studio. And I was like, you know what? I think I might try out yoga. And I went and took her intro to yoga class. And it was so amazing because there was only four of us in the class. I was the only African, and it was my teacher was a male, Caucasian male. So it was all these variations for me, and it was just like, wow. So it really transformed my day when we went to class. And when I got to school, everybody was like, "You're different. What's going on? Like, you seem all blissed out." And not that I was, you know, type A type person, but it was like they noticed a difference when I came from yoga class to class. So I was like, okay, this is something that I really want to maybe look into a little bit further. But it took me years later to actually solidify a practice, so to speak. So it was probably 6 or 7 years later that I actually started doing it on a regular basis.
I
But
believe like once yoga gets you, it may take a little time for you to come back to the practice, but it has you. I always think of it like it's a seed and you have the garden, you have the soil, and the
mhm,
seed doesn't wither away because you haven't planted it. It just hasn't, started the process of growing. So, it's great that you had that experience. And some people have, less than positive experiences with yoga. And I always say, try it again because it's
right,
not the person, it's about you, right?
exactly. Exactly. And that's what I tell my students. It's such a personal journey, no, regardless if you attend a class, a big one, a community one, fancy studio, it's still your personal journey. And that that part of it is a community aspect, but it's, your mat is your little universe. So no matter
Right.
where that takes you, it solidifies that practice for you, as an individual.
And it's very important for us as teachers to let our students know that,
Mhm.
that this is not about us knowing the terminology, about us having our great practice. It's
Right.
about them and their healing.
Exactly. Exactly. You
Right.
know.
So if you
Yeah.
think back to when your practice began to be a little bit more consistent, were there any challenges that came up for you?
Whew, yes, they were. um, when I started taking it a little more seriously, I had moved from South Carolina to Miami, Florida for love. And I discovered a group of individuals who were doing um, Egyptian yoga on the beach. And I went to go get my hair done one day, and this guy was like, "You look like you might be into this," and he handed me this flyer about that yoga class. And I'm thinking, okay, white folks doing yoga on the beach, all right, I can get down with that. And when I walked out there and saw all those beautiful brown people of all shapes and sizes out there doing yoga. So I started attending, and it's a Sunday morning class, and it's still going on almost 10 years later.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, it's amazing. And so I started going to that Sunday class every Sunday. Like that became church for me, and that
Yeah.
became the motivator for my week. And at the time, I was heavier. I was almost 230 pounds. I was dealing with some serious womb issues. In the midst of that, I got diagnosed with the early stages of uterine cancer,
Oh.
and I was like, yoga saved
Yeah.
my life. So it talk about challenges and being to the fact that like there were times when my cycle would be so heavy and I couldn't even do like inversions and things like
Yeah.
that. But I would still go to class because I was like, well, I'm gonna just skip them for
Yeah.
classes and I'm gonna still do the rest. And just having that environment for me was healing, and then having the practice
Yeah.
itself solidified and um uplifted me. It empowered me to continue on. And then seeing people of different sizes and shapes and faiths and all of that coming together on the beach. So no matter what my challenges were, I was like, I can convene with these people. Who knows what their week was like? But Sunday was like our communion space.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And God bless you. Yoga, it really is healing. It really is healing. And I love the fact that, you owned your practice. And those that are listening or watching, the practice is about you. So if there's something in class that doesn't feel right, if it's not right for your body, if you're not there mentally or emotionally, you do have a choice. And I don't think enough people know that it is a choice. Again, it is your practice. And
Yeah.
then, yoga being that thing to help facilitate the body's way of healing. Now, how long did it take for you to come to a place of balance in your health?
Um, it took a couple of years because at the time I didn't realize the emotional toll that had exacerbated those womb issues for me,
Yeah,
dealing with relationship stuff, family drama, um, being disappointed with my work situation, finances. Like I
yeah,
had to strike that balance in my actual life, and then use the practice as that life application tool, and
yeah.
the challenges that I were facing in some of the yoga postures, I translated that into my personal life and said, remember when you couldn't do the wheel and you just,
Right.
took your time and use your breath and, just making it practical
Yeah,
for myself and doing that. But yeah, it took a couple years and I incorporated several modalities, uh, acupuncture, massage, positive affirmations, visualization, herbs. Like everything that I could think of, I could use. I started utilizing it. And there were times I would barter. I'd be like, look, I have the money for this, but I'm an amazing massage therapist. Can we please help me? Because this is what my situation is. And that's how that came along for me. And I've been cancer free now for over 5 years, I want to say.
okay. All right.
And like I said, yoga saved my life because I know, and I was going through my teacher training when I got diagnosed.
Mm,
So and I didn't tell anybody. So I would go to class and
and it's
would be
good. Wow.
feeling horrible.
Mm,
I mean, I ended up having to have an emergency blood transfusion because I had lost so much blood through my cycle and just was suffering in different ways. But the yoga was that place of peace for me. So class was that healing space for me. And
right.
it was so I decided to move home because things were starting to get paramount. They were pushing for me to have a hysterectomy and all this other stuff. And I wasn't even 40 yet. So it
Wow.
was just um so I was like, no. So my mom was like, just come home. We gonna get through this together. And so I moved back home to South Carolina and just started digging in. And then I was blessed with a holistic health practitioner and my doctor who really teamed up and was like, okay, so you don't want to do this? Well, let's do this. And so that's what we did. And that was what worked for me.
Yeah. In my life too, yoga was that gateway drug, that led me to Reiki, that led me to just different types of body work, that led me to a deeper sense of meditation. So I think it's awesome where, for me, it started with the physical practice, and I didn't realize what was wrong in my life was the stuff upstairs.
Oh,
It was the mind stuff, it was the thoughts. So approaching it through the body and opening up places that I never thought that would ever be open, my mind opened up, and then my energy opened up to lead me to different things. I think it's beautiful how I don't know anyone that just does yoga. It's like
no,
everyone that
it's
has a strong practice, there's something else going on.
yes, but it's such a beautiful adjunct tool, like I like to call them tools because, having a holistic health toolbox is so essential. And yoga is one of my tools that I utilize not only for myself, but what I tell my clients, my students, and there are times after class or somebody will say, hey, I got this going on because they know I'm a holistic health practitioner. So they say, can we talk about this? That so it's like having that marriage of the yoga with other things, I think is essential,
Yeah.
and not, no shade to anybody who just does yoga, God
Well,
bless you.
they're
But
just doing yoga, but it's so much more. They may
really,
not have a title for all the things, but
right.
know, yoga
Yeah.
calls for us to be in balance, and there's different things we have to see, even if it's just taking your vitamin every day. If you weren't doing that before yoga, so
Yes.
it's just a beautiful thing. It connects us to all these wonderful tools, like you say, that have always been around, but maybe we just didn't even see,
Mhm.
how it could help. We didn't see what it was useful for, but it really is a beautiful thing. So, Khetnu, what advice or words of wisdom would you give to someone that's just starting out? Maybe they're unsure if yoga's for them or not.
Um, like I said earlier, like really understand that this is your journey, and things are going to come up on the mat, and the challenges that you face, the triumphs that you face on the mat, you could translate that into your life as well. It's very synonymous with each other. So, you know, give it the opportunity. And if that particular teacher or studio doesn't resonate with you, find one that does. There's so many types of yoga now. Like there's got to be something out there for everyone. So
Yeah,
just give it the due diligence and give it a try. Give it an earnest effort. You know what I'm saying? Just
yeah,
don't go through the motions to say, I want to do yoga. And the other thing too is keep your eyes on your mat. Don't compare your journey to anybody else's because you don't know how long it took for that person to get that
right,
bendy,
right,
or the challenges that they went through to get that bendy. And
right.
so it's about tapping into your own personal resource and allowing the process to unfold for you each and every single step.
Yeah, beautiful. And talking about like being on someone else's mat, I hear a lot of my students, and they'll like go on social media like Instagram to look up yoga poses, and they say, "Oh my gosh, this person's so bendy or so strong, and I'll never be that way." And I always encourage them, send them a message and see what it took for them to be that way, because that picture does not tell the complete story.
Does not.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done to get your body to do things that we would consider not natural to the body. So I believe that love is the greatest energy out there. It is the cure all to everything that's going wrong in the world today. What is your definition of self love?
Ooh, self-love is a radical practice. And, it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable with yourself. And I think that's something that a lot of us, especially women of color, we team we deem that as a badge of honor to be strong and independent and non-reliant on other people. And we struggle and we trug through things, but we don't have that love of self, love to love ourselves enough to take care of ourselves so that we don't deplete ourselves by giving to everybody to the point that we don't have enough for ourselves.
Right.
So being able to say, I love myself enough to face that fear, to get that diagnosis, to end that relationship, to end that job that I hate, to, it's such a radical act. And I think because we are taught to be that stronghold, we don't do it as often as we should, and it goes above and beyond getting your hair done, getting your nails done. That's not self-love to me. That's maintenance. That's
Right.
your outside maintenance.
Yeah.
But meditating for 5 minutes in a day, taking a deep breath when you about to spaz out on somebody, to me that's self-love.
Yeah.
Exercising, any form, regardless if it's yoga or anything like that, eating the right foods,
Yeah.
surrounding yourself in a non-toxic environment, meaning emotional, spiritual, and physical.
Yeah.
So that to me, that's what embodies self-love.
Beautiful. So, what does your self love slash yoga practice look like?
Right now, my self-love yoga practice isn't as advantageous as I would like it to be, because my massage business has picked up tremendously in the last month and a half. I do a lot of corporate massage. Actually, I just like literally ran in the door for this interview. A gig in Reston, and it took me an hour and 45 minutes to get from Reston to my
Oh,
door.
wow.
So it's really good, but it's growing, and I'm currently in a certification for Hoop Yogini. Hoop Yogini is a yoga practice that's a part of the Hoop Yogini thing. I just lost my whole train of thought. And it incorporates hula hooping with hatha yoga and mindfulness meditation. So it's growing. So I'm incorporating more of the yoga with the hula hoop, and getting back into that. And I teach a weekly class on Thursday. So at least once a week, I'm getting an hour full, and then bits and pieces here and there with different postures throughout the day if need be. And so that's what part of my self love looks like when it comes to yoga.
And and I want to let folks know self care, self love, it should be fun. It should be exciting. You know, Getting your hair done, and that's why, and I love how you say it's maintenance. It really is. It really is. So making sure that the self care is fun and it's exciting, even if that's trying another yoga pose or meditating in a different way. I'm like all into mindfulness, and I'm doing my best to eat mindfully. So not eating in my car and not eating with a book in my hands, so just focusing on eating. So just finding creative ways to take that time for yourself and feel good. So, Khetnu, you are a teacher, yes?
I am.
So, where do you teach?
I teach right now at the Fit Girls Pilates Studios in Clinton, Maryland. Um, and the owner, Kimberly Campbell, she is a Pilates instructor, and she just got her yoga certification. Um, so it's a tiny little studio, and we have another brother there. His name is Kai, who teaches as well. He's a part of that Vet Toga program with
Mhm.
where they teach veterans,
Yeah.
which I knew about back in the day because I'm a veteran as well. So I love that idea and that concept of, because transitioning out of the military, it takes a whole mindset in itself. So being able to incorporate yoga into that is really awesome. So um, but yeah, so that's where I am right now. I'm looking to start another class here in the district pretty soon, because people are like, I don't want to trudge out to Clinton.
Right.
they've been they've been yelling at me about that, but I'm like, opportunity opened up, so I took advantage of it. So that's where I am.
So, what
Um,
do you hope that your students gain after taking a class with you?
I hope that they have some type of breakthrough, be it an opportunity for them to just be at peace, or to master a posture that they may have been challenged with before, if they tried yoga before, or even if they haven't, and saying, wow, I didn't think I could do that, but I made my way through, and just being able to tap into themselves. That's what I look for from my students. That's what I try to provide. I like to, anything that I teach, I want people to see it as an experience and not an event. So, they can come away from it and say, this wasn't something that I was looking forward to doing before, but I really enjoyed that. And maybe they'll tell someone else, or maybe they'll come back again to have
Yeah.
another experience, because every time should be different for them. So
And
that's
how
what I hope.
often do you suggest your students practice yoga?
You know, because me personally, I didn't come up in a system. Well, let me take that back. We did 100 days consecutively for my teacher training, but and I believe people should incorporate some type of movement every day. But I understand life happens, so
Right.
once a week, and really give it an earnest effort, like carve out some time, even if it's 5 minutes of, you know, you in shavasana. You know what I'm saying? Something, where you could be still, and ultimately working your way up to something that's, you know, a little more repetitious or whatever. But like, I
Yeah.
hate putting, standards on people, because everybody's walk is different. So you may
Yes.
do it every day and you have the tools and opportunities to do that, whereas someone else, that's not their reality. So even with massage, I tell people once a month is great. Yes, you should be able to get them every week or every day if you could afford it, but at least once a month, and use that as a maintenance tool, a proactive way to remain healthy and have that time for yourself to take care of yourself. So I look at the yoga practice as that. And when you get to a point where you can do it every day at some point in time, then I feel like that's the pinnacle, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And 5 minutes. Who doesn't have 5 minutes? So if you're
right.
watching this, listening, we all have 5 minutes to do
Yes, we do.
something for our bodies. And
Yeah.
Shavasana is the ultimate pose. That is the reward pose. So do a
Hmm.
little stretch and be in that pose. And I find Shavasana and Child's Pose the two hardest poses to do, because it calls for you to just be totally checked out and checked into the breath. And that is all.
That's it. And like it's and it is a vulnerable position. Being childlike, you feel vulnerable, and then being at that state of stillness, and you got your brain going. You thinking about, okay, what about traffic? I need to cook dinner. Did those kids do their homework? No. So
Right.
being able to capture that, and work on that. So people
Yeah.
think like the other stuff is the challenging part, but I would say those two postures are
Those,
probably the challenging ones.
right. So, Khetnu, how can our listeners find you online and on social media?
Online, I am at soulfultouch.net. That's my website. Um, on Instagram, I am at a Soulful Touch Wellness. Facebook is Facebook.com/a Soulful Touch, and Twitter is at a Soulful Touch.
Awesome. Well, this has been a wonderful experience, but before I let you go, I would like for you to finish this sentence. I love my curves because.
I love my curves because they're mine, and everything that is a part of me, I have learned to love and accept and embrace. So, regardless of what society dictates how I should look or how I should feel about how I look, I know how I want to feel, and embracing my curves is one way that I have learned to just love on myself and accept every lump, bump, dimple, and stretch
Right.
mark, and
Right.
own it. They're mine. So,
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to spend this time with you and for you sharing your beautiful story.
thank you.
Thank you all for listening or watching. If you don't have the book, please head over to Amazon.com and get Yes, Yoga Has Curves, currently on sale. You can also visit us online at www.yesyogahascurves.com and on social media, Facebook and Instagram, Yes, Yoga Has Curves. Have a beautiful day. Be blessed, be balanced, and be blessed. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you.